What is going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be going over it's not clickbait. I do have fights with Crazy DaDa and all the big dogs on lower servers, or not all of them, but a lot of them. So I tried to get as many replays as I possibly could to analyze them a little bit. I'll go over both of the battle recaps with me and Nemo and Iron Man. They're not pretty. I just pretty much get one shot in both of them, but idea of this video is just to kind of go through what all of these top guys are using on all of the the recaps that I actually have of their fights, and specifically of as many different carriers as I possibly was able to get fights with, so you can see what top level players are using. And the premise is just get as much info as you can, give smaller guys direction so you don't waste money, or your setup probably isn't going to look the exact same as these people ever, because of the amount of money that these people spend on this game. But it is interesting to see how they're building, and you can take some of that and use it, and I'll try to show you guys how to analyze battle setups in terms of if I were going to try to beat these people, what I would try to go for. So without further ado, I'm going to hop into, well, I guess I'll just hop into the first one. So in Champions Cup, I was on an S-rank team, and we got our butts handed to us in the second round. So we kind of swept the first round of preliminaries, and then we miraculously won the first two rounds of Apex against another S-rank team, and then against an SS rank team, because they had a couple players that were like 1.5 to 2 billion power. And then we got paired up in the finals against a triple S rank team, which was Crazy DaDa's team. Somehow, I don't know how the matchmaking works. Hopefully they fix it for the one that starts tomorrow. But it is a good opportunity to show, even though we got absolutely stomped, to show you guys what these people are working with. So if you use any of these carriers and you want specific setups for them, I'm going to try to give you my best input on every single one of these fight replays that I have. Two of them are against the actual Crazy DaDa, but we'll see. So first fight, and this is, we went into this knowing that we were going to get absolutely stomped. None of these fights are pretty looking for us, but if you're looking for a George or a Bush setup, if you're looking at any of these people, if you know who these people are, like, 6-star, almost ever. This is actually probably this guy's like 12th carrier, and he has level 19 6-star stuff on it. This is absolutely not his main carrier by any means, because all of this stuff isn't maxed out. And there's really no reason to even use this compared to the other 6-star things that you can use. The only thing benefiting this is really the starting accuracy, but at the end, if you have all of the other tactical devices maxed out, your interception device is going to be at 95%. So starting with the CIWS there, but for his Bush, he's going entirely aircraft setup. There's all three 7-star Orange 90 planes, maxed out charge UAVs. A lot of the time, people are going to use these charge UAVs to start, because obviously it gives you the attack speed bonus that other people are having, and like honestly, having the extra 40 attack speed and counter attack speed will make or break a battle sometimes, especially using a carrier like Bush that's kind of reliant on the actual attack speed. If I'm thinking correctly, what is the skill that it has? Might be an aircraft buff, but it might not show up on here, honestly. Yeah, it doesn't look like it shows up on here. If someone else knows where this is, let me know. But it's something based on if your attack speed is above the enemy's attack speed, which in this case, my attack speed is above his in the first one, but his is above mine in the second one. So like it converts this to damage somehow. I'm not exactly sure how that actually factors in, which I guess I should figure that out. Oh, air-to-air blockade. Nope, that's not it. I don't know. It's somewhere in there. It's in one of these stats. So anyway, this fight was, again, this is my main versus his like 12th carrier, and I get absolutely annihilated. So I'll show you the footage here. One round, he takes out almost all of my carrier or my warships with his first 2 planes, and this is like I'm playing with like 300% dodge here. This isn't like baby dodge carrier. This is a really solid dodge setup that I built. I think at least. So we'll see. And so he can still hit me. And the thing that's surprising is that he can hit me with an aircraft setup, including the fact that I'm using Lincoln, which Lincoln gets an extra 50% interference to aircraft. So I'm sitting here at like 350% dodge and minus 120 interference to aircraft. So he shouldn't be able to even touch me, and he can wipe out almost all of my ships immediately if I'm fighting against a normal person. So I hit him with my normal shots here, and then I'm dead in this one. Boop, done. One shot, one kill. And notice, like, he's just using type 096. Like, he has no defense on any of his ships, and I still couldn't take them out. So the equipment that these guys have on these carriers is really insane. If you look at all of their war robots, they're all red, SSR, orange. All their stones are +8, +9s, +10s. Crazy DaDa had the highest ones, but like all of these guys are rocking every single one of the SSR robots with full plus, really high level energy stones. This is really his backup for his backup carrier, and we kind of just get annihilated. So like, if I want to analyze this in terms of how I would try to go about killing them, a couple things to pick here. So his overall accuracy is 160, which really isn't that much. The way that you can technically do the math and get around this, if he has 160 accuracy, if I have 260 dodge, he can't touch me. I need 100% more dodge than his accuracy, and then he can't touch me, meaning I have a 100% dodge chance. So say, for example, he technically, if he had all the way up to 240, he still shouldn't be able to touch me. The way that he can is that what's not factored in here for this accuracy is his subs. So if I look at his formation, so this formation tab is really nice. Now I can see what their planes are, what his equipment is using, and all this obviously is orange +2s, +4s, +2, +1. It's all maxed out equipment. Okay, it's really good, and he gets all of his. This is even more impressive because the interference for the Lincoln is entirely interference to aircraft. Right, so he has 48% extra, but that's entirely wiped out by the fact that I'm using 7-star Lincoln, and he still can hit me. A lot of that's probably in part to here, but we'll see. It's going to be, the reason why he's going to be able to hit me is the fact that he has +3 096 subs. That gives him a really high 120% Hawkeye right here. So that doesn't factor it in. So technically, if you look back at his accuracy in the buff analysis page, he has 160% here, plus 120 from Hawkeye. So he has 280? Quick math there, 280% accuracy. And then it adds in, so 280% accuracy minus whatever his aircraft accuracy is. So it's actually plus still somehow. So he has 220% aircraft accuracy normally. I have minus 172. So he has 280, and then plus the 48 for his first plane, plus 80 for his second plane, and plus 53 for his third plane. So that 280 plus 48, he's looking at 308 accuracy there. He's looking at it's even more than that. It's literally where my dodge is at for it's like 340 accuracy for his second plane, and for his third plane he has it's close to the first one. It's like 310. So technically I have a 30 or 40% chance to dodge just based on those numbers. 30 or 40% chance to dodge on the first plane. A 30 or a 0% chance to dodge on his second plane, and about a 20 or 30% chance to dodge the attack of his third plane. The story doesn't end there. It goes on a little bit further because I'm using and that aircraft accuracy, by the way, factors in accuracy from his UAVs. So like, I don't have to count this. I already counted that by looking at the other buff sheet. It's all this 12%, that kind of thing. All of these accuracies are counted in already. But I'm using Phantom Ray, so based on the buffs that I had an extra 72% on top of that. So technically on his first plane, I would have a 100% dodge chance. On his second plane, I would have a very low dodge chance. And on his third plane, I have also, it should be roughly about 100% or so. But clearly, he still can whack me pretty good as far as like the first two shots there. He wipes out all of my warships. So there's a couple other accuracy things that go into that. And yeah, it's whatever the math is. Like I did get a couple dodges in there, but it's still nowhere near what I would have actually needed to beat him. So that's kind of analyzing. If I was trying to beat him, mainly the thing that I need to work on is I need more dodge. There's a couple ways that I could have done that. One, I could have run Mirage. If you notice on my Lincoln, I typically don't run Mirage because I don't really need it. In my server, most people can't hit me, and the ones that can, even if I did run Mirage, they're running a Helios. So it doesn't really matter. They wouldn't be able to hit, like they could hit me anyway. So that's why I don't run it, and I might as well run something else that's going to benefit me if they're going to be able to hit me anyway. But against him, I would have been able to get away with it if I ran like Black Hurricane slot 1, or if I ran like Xeon H20 slot 1. He wouldn't have been able to touch me with his planes. He still would have one-shot me with his warships, but he wouldn't have been able to touch me with his planes, so I still would have had a little bit more defense there in front of me. So that's like the first thing that I would start off. Fight against Iron Man, this was straight up an apocalypse. My Hornet is nowhere near at these guys' level yet. So, you know, looking at, he's not even using UAV on this one, but it's a standard setup here. NH90, Venus, and Lion, so standard warship setup. If you look at all of these guys, Iron Man's actually probably the weakest one out of all of them, and he's still really strong. But all of these are kind of, these robots are nothing compared to the rest of the team he's playing on. Doesn't even use skills or anything, and he still wallops me. It's still like a one-shot kill. So it just kind of shows you the disparity between me being, you know, like top 10 in my Navy Proving Grounds versus top players in the game. Oh, actually, I guess I lived 3 rounds here. But he's using, what is it, Gemini? Yeah, so he's using Gemini plus 3 subs, probably for the reduction to burn damage, even more so. So, like, he's, with this build, what he's kind of going for, since he's using the Apocalypse that's really good at countering burn damage, and using Ice Guardian, he's kind of just making sure that no one can, if someone has a really high skill damage build, that won't matter. It still won't hurt him. So you need basically raw damage to get through this. An Agaris might help, but his last stand with the equipment he has is probably ridiculous. So this time, my Hornet actually it's actually pretty good defensively against a guy like this. I still don't do any damage to him just because I don't have enough, but the survivability is good. So if I'm looking at analyzing this fight and say Hornet was my only carrier, the main takeaway would be that my survivability is really good because I lasted 3 rounds against a dude that can hit like a freight train, but I clearly don't do enough damage, or I have to come up with some way to do some damage to this guy. And there's, you know, a couple ways to go about that. With this build, I wouldn't use burn or biochemical missile because you're not going to do anything to him with those. You kind of would just need raw damage at this point, or you could use probably the Agaris to just get way above and beyond his last stand with your additional injury, and just use stuff that didn't have biochemical missile or burn, or didn't rely on those. So you would be using corrosion stuff and sunder, because it increases the additional injury damage, but it doesn't necessarily increase the damage of skills like burn or biochemical missile. So you'd be probably an Agaris, like a really good one, but you wouldn't use like Seal. I'm trying to think of like what plane you would use in that case. Probably like Red Baron. I would say just for Dispel to try to strip as much as possible. You could do Red Baron. You actually could probably get away with using burn if you use like Red Baron, Phantom Phoenix, and then Sky Split Seal, because the Phantom Phoenix, if you get fuel to fire on it, it'll reduce the healing and reduce the effectiveness of Ice Guardian, but it's kind of just like playing into this guy's counter. So it's probably not the best bit. I would probably have to have a lot more replays against him to analyze how to actually win that. But that's kind of where my thought process would go. If you look at all the, this is what the Hornet's good at. I have him at negative 119 critical hit, so he's not going to crit me ever. So reflection coating, having Priest on there with counterattack armor, anything like that is going to help me, because then I could probably start trying to utilize his damage against him, and that's would most likely be my best bet. Just have him kill himself. That would be the start of my build. But anyway, just looking at this, it doesn't really matter against most of these guys because they're usually way strong. They're way stronger anyway. And the rest of these fights, I'm out of carriers at this point, and I wasn't going to waste super capacitors on building my carriers back up. So I just kind of sent, weak carriers that I had to their death. This is probably the most impressive build, and this is where I'm going to try to dive into the build a little bit deeper. But first and foremost is 636 dodge, which isn't the highest dodge out of these people on their Nyax. One of them had 772. I think that was Crazy DaDa. So if you're looking at this guy's Nyax build, like, these stats are absolutely insane. Like, that they're getting their stats entirely from their war robots or these stones. These guys have +9 stones on here, 21% countermeasure. The numbers, the stat that these energy stones give you at +9s, +10s are really, really nothing to scoff at. Like, they're really high numbers. 35% HP at a +9. And Crazy DaDa has +10s on everything, or +9s and 10s on everything. So the kind of things that these guys are using, he's using some dodge stones, some health stones, some sunder stones. It looks like he's using a little bit of everything. He's not necessarily specializing with one thing. So if I were him, if I'm fighting against someone, I would probably just say that that's one of the rooms or one of the areas in the game that I can get better at. Specialize into one specific thing, but he doesn't need to, I'm sure, because he just kills everyone, so it doesn't matter about specialization. But if someone were to come along and kill him, that's probably where he would start, to start specializing and saying, all right, I'm going to put duplicates of the same stone on to get past, whatever. If say he was fighting the last guy that had the apocalypse, you'd probably specialize in, adding just regular additional injury damage. So just as many additional injury stones as you possibly could to get above the last stand, and really start doing some damage to him. Yeah, attack speed, yeah, ridiculous stats on here. What I wanted to point out as far as the aircraft setup that this guy has, and the UAV. So I've been looking at this for a really, really long time, and this is actually the build that I've been working on in the background. Phoenix UAV is really, really interesting to use on a dodge setup. First and foremost, if you look at the set effect, it increases the damage that people take when they're affected by these buffs, and flare is one of them. The bigger thing is flare, and they cannot purify it, so they're immune to the purification. And if you look at the subs that he's actually using, which are Trafalgar +3s and 2, the flare percentage on this is 94%. Now, if you think like a 20 set bonus for Phantom Ray, you're getting at most 72% dodge from having 6 buffs on your warship that can be dispelled, and you lose the dodge that Phantom Ray gives you. However, flare can't be dispelled, and it reduces their accuracy by 94%. So the effect on the fight is the exact same thing. It's actually better to have the +3 Trafalgar with flare than it is to have a Phantom Ray UAV on. But Phantom Ray is free, and Phoenix, I got the Phoenix for free too, because there was that event that was giving out a ton of UAV supply tickets, and I just saved like 200 of them and waited for the event. But if you didn't do that, most people are probably going to have to spend money on it. But 94% accuracy drop that can't be purified is way better than a sometimes 72% dodge bonus. Not only that, but every one of these debuffs can't be purified. Actually, wait, can electronic jamming? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's electronic jamming. I'm pretty sure it can't be. Yeah, EMI, flare, electronic jamming, or overawe. So Sunder can be purified on there, but overawe can't. And if you add overawe afterwards, I don't think he actually does. No, he doesn't here. But if you add overawe on afterwards, it'll bring back Sunder, or it'll bring back, like if you use like AE Intruder and hit them with overawe and then corrosion, and then what is the other thing it has? Just dispel. So you dispel some more of their buffs, and then overawe back either Sunder or corrosion to increase your own damage. So it's like a really, really deadly combo, and all of those increase your damage by 39%, every debuff. So you're looking at like a 300% damage increase, as well as you still don't lose anything out on the dodge side. So it's a really, really strong build. The second thing that they're looking at, Eternal ATXD, highest stimulant percentage in the entire game, 70%, and highest precise strike at 95%. Plus, it hits the same range as Lion, so you get the +2 reload on all of those, and serial recharge. So Lion or Puma and Eternal ATXD are a really, really solid combo. Phenomenal Light. Everyone uses this one because it's double round barrier and 4 skill purify. But double round barrier for 4 attacks per turn is really effective, especially when you're playing against people that have precise combo mastery. Because if they're running precise combo mastery with the double reload, they get 6 attacks per turn. And if they can't hit you with all 6 of them because you're dodging, they'll at least hit you with the 3 precise combo attacks. And this will block the first 3 and the second 1 from the middle column. So you're blocking like 50% of the damage someone can deal to you just by putting this on with a 4 attack barrier. So really, really smart setup. He obviously annihilates me. It's not even worth showing you the replay, but really smart build. I'm trying not to. This video is already a little long, but I'm gonna try to go through the last of these pretty quickly. Nemo was the only one that was using the Avenger, and this is clearly, as soon as you check CIWS and see that this type of dude is using a 5-star, I know this is his like super backup, but I'm just interested in seeing. So it's super backup. These UAVs aren't even maxed out, so this is like this dude's last in line setup, and it still would one-shot anything that I have. Or in NH90 Lion Winter Blade, pretty standard. You're still going to utilize the Lion here with the JH7 Leopard, with precise combo mastery, like I said, and double reload. You hit 6 times per warship slot in your back row, and this will stack up, giving him at level 20, I believe it's 5, yeah. So if you hit 6 times per row, round 2 you do 30% damage increase. Because you do 6 times, you get a 30% damage increase, and this stacks up to 15 times. So you get a 30% damage increase for round 2, you get a 60% damage increase for round 3, and you get a 70% damage increase for round 4. The only way that would make this better would be, instead of using Winter Blade, using that Eternal ATXD, because you start off with a 70% damage bonus. And you're just stacking damage bonuses at that point. So that's kind of all I wanted to say on that one. I've never seen anyone use the Godsbane Avenger very effectively, and this is this dude's like 12th carrier in line, so it's not even his best stuff. First fight, crazy DaDa, because this is probably why most people click on this video, just to see this guy's setup. I'll put the timestamp in. 765% dodge on an IX, which is really insane. The thing that was more crazy to me, one, he's using a standard Phantom Ray Black Hurricane NH90 Tomcat. This is a very standard aircraft setup that a lot of people use. This probably isn't even his main. Most people at that level use the Anniversary carrier. But yeah, so he's using just a standard NIX build. If you look at his equipment, obviously everything is maxed out. Oh, actually, look at that. +2, not a +4. Ha! Now +4, +2, +4, +4, everything orange, +3 NIX. What masteries these guys... They're all using precise combo. And they're Sunder, Dispel, and Burn are the best 3. Everyone's using Death Immune support, so Cruisers front row, Warships back row, And then he's using Lafayette +3s with additional corrosion. So that's pretty interesting because he's not using the Phoenix UAV. So corrosion, I'm not entirely sure why he's using that, because if someone else was just using NH90, they'd probably purify both of these, and they would just have Dispel. So it's not really, I don't know. You could just purify this. You could purify the EMV, and you could purify the corrosion there. And then if you're looking at his planes, yeah, like I said, none of them are debuff planes, so it's kind of just a wasted slot to put EMV and corrosion on there. The only thing that he's really getting out of this is the Dispel, and that's not even fully polished to 4, which is where most people actually use it for. So interesting sub setup. Chips, all, this is because he wants the 100% shield Mirage. That's pretty standard. But anyway, it's the sheer stats are just ridiculous, and probably the most impressive thing about this is the SSR robots here. Everything, almost everything. Like, it looks, he needs to get a couple more Dawn shields, and I don't know, probably the last 2 SSRs when they come out, or actually they are out. It'll probably be changed soon. But +9, +10, +10, +9, ridiculous stats on these things. +9s, +10s on everything. Crit mitigation. This guy is not getting killed unless you're playing against the other dude who's after him who has the same thing. +10s across the board on Tempo Warrior. 38% critical hit, 100 attack speed, 48% accuracy, 20% last hit. Yeah, these numbers are nothing to laugh at. These things are, like, these stones are going to be game changing when people start getting higher level ones. Most of the people that are stronger right now are really utilizing these stones, and they're not even necessarily getting SSRs. If you don't have the money for SSRs, don't worry about it. Look at the strongest person in the game using Iron Wings, right? SR, or one of the strongest people in the game using Iron Wings. Amplified Violence right here, really beneficial for those burn and biochemical missile builds. Won't be effective against an Apocalypse, but will be very effective against the new Hades. Hades is the Hades is kind of well-rounded now that it can't be killed by non-crit damage, so it kind of neutered the Agaris counter to it. The one thing that it was able to just blow it up round 1. But Amplified Violence right here is one way to get around that. So you want to increase your burn and biochemical missile damage. It decreases the non-crit damage. It still takes full damage from skills. So if you want to try to get around the Abyssal Hades, that's the tip of the day. Increase your Amplified Violence and use Sky Split Seal, as well as try to get Fuel to Fire on it. So like Phantom Phoenix and Sky Split Seal in a combo on an Agaris still, you'll still almost one-shot the Hades. Yeah, Focus Fire, again, so like one of the strongest players in the game still using 2 SRs that have really good stats. Just keep doing the alien rallies and buff up your SRs, and just open up all of these energy stone slots. This is the same as getting that 2nd and 3rd genius slot. It's just as powerful stat-wise once you get to the higher stones. So anyway, moving on to the next one. I couldn't get a fight against, I couldn't get my pack because they were in everywhere. I was trying to get a fight against one of T's 3 anniversary carriers maxed out, but I couldn't get a fight against his anniversary carriers. This is going to be a menace of a setup if you fight against him. Anyone that has the Priest plane, try to get the Sentry UAV. The combination of the 2 of them is absolutely insane. You basically just kill yourself while you try to hit them, especially against someone with with the Imperial Special Edition. So like, people are going to use, if they use anything that does crit damage, you're just going to do no damage to them. And if you use anything with an Agaris radar, you're just going to kill yourself. It's like, it's a catch-22. You're screwed either way you go. It's really, really hard to beat this outside of skill damage, which is that same Iron Wings, Amplified Violence. Go for burn and biochemical missile damage. T, again, all plus 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s on these stones. Almost all orange SSR robots. It's really insane. The amount this, I mean, each of these is like 2 to 3 grand per orange robot. It's really, really ridiculous. Anyway, so that's the Imperial there. There's not much, if you want to look at formation really quick, some of these setups. They're all using maxed out gear or close to maxed out gear. And when they're not, you know it's their hand-me-down carrier. So these guys are using this stuff as like their backup stuff. And that still would one-shot anything that I have. And this other fight against Crazy DaDa was against his special edition, his anniversary carrier. So this is probably his main setup, I would assume. He's using radar with a sky split seal, pretty common, and then double. So it's a hybrid setup. It looks like. I'm curious as to what the subs are. Anniversary. So yeah, it's hybrid setup. He's probably trying to strip buffs and do damage with the seal, buff himself up, and then give himself a little extra damage before the fight starts. Wonder what he adds. Stimulant added to the remodel. So this is actually the same that I run. I run anniversary like this with stimulant on there. This is actually very similar to the setup that I run on my Lincoln, except I use AE Intruder instead of Sky Split Seal. That's the only difference. And then I would use Phantom Radar. But so you've already seen his warships. The masteries are all still precise combo, +4s, +3s, and all the cruisers are death immune support. So the setups are all very standard once you get up to a certain point. Trying to think if there's anything else here. No, all this is pretty standard setup stuff, and this is probably his main. Everything's level 20 maxed out on here. This one is really good if you have spent money and have this Warship Assault Device. 30% of the damage dealt by your warships is converted back into health. So after your first round, it just brings back up the health of your energy shield, which is really crazy. It's really beneficial, especially on something like this. 13,000 additional armor. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, yeah, that's all maxed out. And then reduced buff release of... Oh. Alright, so if something's going to hit him, he doesn't want them to... I'm curious as to why he's using that on the anniversary carrier. Because it doesn't matter if they debuff him. Well, I guess the skill damage still applies from burn and biochemical missile. It's probably there to block that from triggering, but the anniversary's whole thing is that you can't damage it. Skills don't do anything to it. That's what its super resistance does. Restrain doesn't affect it or anything like that. If you look at like the buff details on this, 655 defense. Still, almost 250% dodge, not using dodge equipment. Yeah, +2, +2, +2, +2, +4, and Agaris +2. All maxed out gear. Yeah, pretty insane stuff. So, anyway, I know this video went really, really long, guys. I really appreciate anyone who stayed all the way to the end. I know I talked fast. I know there was a lot of info in here, but hope you guys liked the content. I wanted to do this today because Champions Cup starts again tomorrow, and all these replays would have been lost. So, thank you for sticking around. I'm going to drop a link to, if you made it this far, I appreciate it, and I'm going to drop a link to the Discord below. I started it up. I'm probably going to do office hours and stuff and just kind of hang out in there while I play Champions Cup and other stuff. So, you know, if you have setup questions or advice, if you ever see me in there, feel free to hop in, ask questions, and do whatever. So, thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.